Alright, everybody, my name is Mr. Hat, and today we are going over Child's Play 2, which is directed by John Lafia, who co-wrote Child's Play 1. Came out in 1990, once again written by Don Mancini. He writes all of them, except for the remake. And this one tells a story about Andy Barclay. It's apparently 2 years later, and they're rebuilding the old doll from the first movie to prove that there's nothing wrong with it, but of course there is something wrong with it. Doll comes alive, hunts down Andy, and now Andy has to fight back. Child's Play 2 came out exactly 2 years after the first one in 1990, and this is the one where Chucky really becomes the star of the show. A lot more laughs, a lot more one-liners, a lot more kills, and a lot more fun. When you talk with horror fans everywhere, they will always say that this is probably one of the best horror sequels out there. It's like the top 10 horror sequels on most people's list. And I have to agree with them. And this one has the best cover of the whole franchise. So, sorry Jack, Chucky's back in this week's Horror Franchise Wednesday.
Child's Play 2.
Now, before we get started, I just want to point out that I got this little DVD collection thing, and the poster is garbage. Alright, Child's Play 2, great poster. 3, whichever side it's on, great poster. This, I don't know what the fuck this shit is. Like, it's garbage. 4 movies, 2 discs, you know what that means. It's terrible. I will point out something I just thought about this. I think the poster for Child's Play 2 should be the poster for 3. You know, right here. Sorry, Jack. And 3 should be the poster for 2 because, you know, part 3 is the more campy, fun one where he's killing people with toys. So therefore, this would make more sense. And part 2 is where he's bleeding a lot from his nose. Like 3 or 4 times he bleeds. He bleeds in the car when they get pulled over. He bleeds when he's thrown down the stairs. He bleeds after he says the chant towards the end. So him bleeding out of the mouth and shit, that poster, that should be this one. Yeah. That's my thought on that. I like to think that there's a few Chucky fans out there that are losing their mind like, holy fuck, I never thought of that. You're welcome. Positives for this movie, I already said the poster. I love the poster. But the opening to this movie, the score is another great thing that's awesome about this movie. The end credits, when it's the same score from the beginning, like it's got this eerie, like it's almost childish. It sounds like toys, like a xylophone or something. And I think that's what the new remake score is it's going to have that same vibe. The Bear McCreary, I think that's his name, he's going to do the remake score. But this score is probably the best, next to part 3, the best score of the entire franchise. Now, it's a shame that we didn't get this one in later installments. But yeah, I like this cliche, like, you know, rebuild the monster from the previous film opening. We get it in a lot of movies, especially horror franchises. And we get it in part 3, part 4. It's kind of like the staple for this franchise. You gotta rebuild Chucky at the beginning. And it's ridiculous, but I love it. I like the whole foster family dynamic relationship going on with Andy and Kyle. And his parents are so nice. And it's a shame what happens to them, but they're just so fucking nice. They're really likable people. The characters in this movie are likable. Even Phil, he's the strict dad, but, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So you like them all, and that's a great positive. I mean, the first one, likable characters too. The mom, of course, but this one, the characters are even more likable. Learning that Kyle hasn't spent more than a month with any family since she was like 3, it's so unbelievable how nice she is, but she is. And the foster dad is the scientist from Chopping Mall, one of my favorite cheesy 80s horror movies. Probably my top 10 cheesy horror movies is Chopping Mall. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I did a review for it. It's a great, fun watch. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes. But yeah, I feel like Kyle is a great character, and it's a shame we never really got more of her. We get her in a little bit towards the end of Child's Play, Cult of Chucky. She's like an after-credit sequence thing, and it's like, she deserves more than that. I hope they do more with her in this upcoming TV show, and then maybe movies that Don Mancini's still working on. Maybe we'll get more of her. I don't know. But her character in this movie is amazing. I like her relationship with Andy. And yeah, it's probably one of the better things of this movie. And Chucky. Chucky's even better in this one too. He is pissed off. This one, I think, has the angriest Chucky out of the whole franchise. When he gets to that toy factory, he has fucking had it. Chucky's way more fun. He has a lot more screen time. 5 minutes into this movie, he's already trying to kill somebody. He's laughing a lot more. This is where that iconic laugh kicks in. When he has that guy tied up in the car. He's burying the other doll. He's just laughing a lot. And the puppeteering behind Chucky, I would say it's better than the first one. Like just the way Chucky looks when he's walking out of that closet, his feet, and he's hitting the ruler with his hand. Great. That is some great puppeteering right there. This movie even has creepier atmosphere than the first one. The first one was just kind of cold and miserable. It was in Chicago in January. This one, it's got the whole like stormy atmosphere, lightning and thunder, the heavy rain, and that Foster family house is creepy as shit too because it's so weirdly decorated. And I'll get to that in my negatives. But yeah, I think the atmosphere works a lot better in this one too. It's just the score helps it too, and just the weather outside. It adds more elements of creepy atmosphere. Andy as an actor is way better than this one. It's 2 years later, so he's 8 years old now. Much better actor. He's a lot more believable. And I like that he stands up to Chucky. Like when his teacher gets killed, that night he's like, fuck it. I'm going down there. He gets an electric carving knife or whatever for turkeys. I don't know. I'm not much of a kitchen expert. Tools. I don't know that shit, but it's like an electric knife. And he's like, I've had it. I'm gonna go get that son of a bitch. And that's brave, because when I was 8 watching this, I was like, I wouldn't do that. That's too much. I'm too chicken for that. The third act of this movie is probably the best third act of the whole franchise. Like, none of them stand out as much as this one. And I think it makes perfect sense where it ends up. It ends up at the factory. It's convenient, but I love that they did that. And it's perfect. This movie wouldn't be as good as it is without that place. So it was a great way to end this movie. Great third act. And I like that the chant that he does on Andy towards the end, it's the same length as the chant in the first movie. Now you'll hear me talk about this throughout this franchise when I'm reviewing all of them, because it changes. I've already seen the third one now. I rewatched it. It changes. It's way longer in the third one. And I like that the body count is raised. This one probably has one of the best kills, top 10 kills. The eye gouge one with the tool thing that comes down. Probably one of the best Chucky deaths next to part 3. So yeah, this one has a lot of shit that's great about it. It's one of the best sequels to any horror franchise ever. I put this up there with Friday the 13th Part 4 and Final Destination 3. Now, before we go into my negatives, let's go over a couple of my awards. The hottest chick in this movie is definitely going to be Kyle, because who else would I pick? Joanne? Pfft, fuck that. Kyle, she's awesome. Her relationship with Andy and just the way she protects him, her altruism, her heroism, she's a hero. I love her. And the Clapper Award for Best Scene is going to go to the closet scene at the school. When everything from when Chucky says peekaboo to you've been very naughty, Miss Killowell, all that shit is great. Alright, now let's go over a few of my little nitpicks. That's really all they are, nitpicks. One, the resurrection makes no fucking sense. Like, you put me in a writer's room for a couple of days, I might come up with something better. But I felt like this was rushed. Because they're like, alright, how are we going to do this? Well, let's just have the company rebuild the doll with the original head from part 1, and then electricity just starts for some fucking reason, and then he's back. There is no explanation behind it. It's just kind of like, here it is, accept it, it's happening. And it's like, right, why would you recreate the doll from the crime scene 2 years later? This movie establishes that it's like 2 years later, I believe. Alright, because Andy is definitely 2 years older. So, the fact that it took them 2 years after that massacre, if you can call it that, was it really? Just like 2 people? After that killing spree, they waited 2 years to take just the head and be like, well, let's just clean it and improve what? Well, see, it's not killing people, and then it does, whatever. I don't know, that just makes no sense to me. Like, the fact that they just took the head to recreate it and just to prove to the public, like, see, the doll didn't kill people. I think the public was already on your side. It's kind of irritating the fact that Chucky didn't try to possess the guy he kills, the first one, because I just watched the first one not too long ago, and I can tell you verbatim what Chucky said after the voodoo guy explained the rules. He said, you mean the first person I let in on the fact that I was really alive? He didn't say the first person I told my name to or anything like that. Like, he just started over. He's a new doll, new body, except for the head. He can tell anyone else besides Andy, but it just feels forced. Like, he's not gonna try anyone else. He's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna go after Andy again. It feels forced. It's convenient. The first person in this movie he lets in on the fact that he's alive is the guy in the car, and he just kills him. He doesn't try to possess him at all. He could have at least tried. You know, all it would have taken is just 10, 15 extra seconds to make this movie feel a little bit more smarter. You know, just put it in there. It won't. This movie's not that long. We can afford it. Just have him at least try, and that would be even more comedic. You know, that would be another comedic scene if, like, he tried on him after he killed him or before he killed him. He had him tied up. It would have been so easy. Just tie him up, try it on him. He's the first person you're telling that you're alive. And then if it doesn't work, be like, oh, fuck, maybe I do have to go to Andy. And then it would have made more sense. You know what I mean? I like how Andy somehow knows all these rules about Chucky. Like, he's like, he needed to get inside my soul because he was going to burn in hell. And, you know, like, he knew all this shit. And it's like, how? He never told you. You know, like, he never said shit. He just attacked you and he just kept attacking you. That's it. And then he said like a chant on you. He never told you the specifics, but he was telling the audience and this psychiatrist the specifics. Like, he needed to say this chant because he was in the doll, and if he was in the doll for so long, he would become human. And it was like, how the fuck do you know that? Who told you that? Nobody. Maybe the mom, maybe the cop, Mike Norris, told him at some point, but why? Why would they? As soon as those foster parents took Andy to their house, and then Andy sees the doll, after hearing the story they were told, they should have gotten rid of that doll immediately. Get it the fuck out. That's just ridiculous. Like, the fact that they kept it, and then, like, Andy's, like, holding Tommy and playing with it, and they're like, oh, see, he's bonding with it. He's okay now. No, get it out. Just like in the first one, you kind of have to suspend belief, knowing that somehow Chucky is able to walk around this school, from the school back to Andy's house, and not get caught in the middle of the day. Bullshit. Alright, now those are all my nitpicks. Yeah, I think that's it. Alright, let's do the spoiler discussion. Spoilers! Let's talk about this movie. Alright, like I already said, 2 years later, they rebuild the doll now, really, and I like how they don't see anything wrong with the fact that this doll has teeth and a tongue. Like, dirty-ass teeth. Did you see the other good guy dolls in the first movie? And the ones in this one that are being made? Do they have teeth? Do they have a tongue? No, they do not. And the one guy's even like, you know, we checked the body and there was nothing. There was nothing? You didn't see the blood? There was clearly blood at the end of the first movie. Blood just shooting out of the Chucky's body. So you didn't find a heart? You guys weren't checking that good. I like that we get a little update. It's a very brief update. You know, the mom, Annie's mom, is in like an insane asylum. They don't believe her story at all. But Mike Norris and the other cop, who, you know, they're like, yeah, who's going to believe me? They denied it. They're like, I don't know what they're talking about. The doll was not alive. So they lied. They got off scot-free. So yeah, what a bunch of bitches. That makes you hate Mike Norris a little bit. You know, you go back to the first movie, you're like, fuck you, Mike. You could have stuck up for Catherine Hicks, but you fucking pussied out and said, I don't know what they're talking about, just to get out of insane asylum. Whatever. I don't know, that just irritates me. You know, he could have stuck up for Catherine Hicks, whatever her name is in the movie, Karen, but he didn't. I like how this guy has so many toys in his trunk that he can't even fit Chucky in the back, so he has to put him in the back seat. Convenient, but he has all these toys, and then Chucky's saying all kinds of one-liners. He ties him up. That's a horrible way to go, to have your hands tied behind your back as you're being strangled with a good guy doll bag. And then Chucky's laughing his ass off. That's just terrifying. I like when he says, now park this piece of shit. Awesome one-liner. I like how the foster agency just gives away Andy's new address like that. They're like, who is this? And Chucky's like, this is his Uncle Charles. Can you tell me where Andy lives and perhaps tell me his school schedule, his social security, and list of fears? I really want to know about this kid. And they're like, oh, well, thank you for calling. He lives at this address. Go get him. They must have told him what school he goes to also and what classroom. I don't know how Chucky knew which classroom Chucky goes to, how he figured that out, you know, to write fuck you bitch on the paper. Hilarious. Love that. Reminds me of all my times at school. I used to do shit like that too. Not exactly like that. I never had the balls to do that. I would just say it to them. Like, fuck you, bitch. The foster home is hideous. Ugly as fuck. Who paints their walls pink and then has like purplish blue wooded panels everywhere? It's disgusting looking. So yeah, like the house is scarier than Chucky sometimes. Probably my favorite shot, one of my favorite shots is Chucky at the bottom of the stairs and you got all that creepy atmosphere, the dark house, and Chucky's just down there by himself looking up towards Andy's room. And you just, all this lightning going on. Probably one of my favorite shots right there. What's your favorite shot? I like that Chucky kills Tommy and replaces him. Just, I love that. That's smart writing right there. And I love that when Andy talks to Chucky the next day and he thinks that's Tommy, he's like, I hate you. And then Chucky like wants to like put on this facade, this game, and he's like, hi, I'm Tommy. That makes me laugh each time. I love that.
I hate you. Hi, I'm Tommy, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi-ho!
Another good one-liner. There's a whole list of one-liners. I'll go over them towards the end. But yes, that is a great moment. Saying the name backward joke. When I watched this as a kid, I never got that joke. Andy's talking to Kyle, and he's like, hey, Kyle, I can say your name backwards. And he like turns his back on her, and it says her name, Kyle. I never got that as a kid, so I guess I'm just a moron. But it's like, huh? That's not how you say her name backwards. It would be like Elac or something. Chucky watching Andy sleep. So after everything Andy went through, he has the balls to put Chucky on his fucking like shelf to watch over him as he sleeps. I know you think it's Tommy, but still, no, get rid of it. I wouldn't do that. Hell no. It's just like, really? You're going to put the doll up there so he can just look over you? And not to mention, there's plenty of other creepy shit in that room. Now, I never thought about this before, but why is Kyle sneaking into Andy's room? Did she sneak out of his room early and was like, shh, don't tell anybody, but I'll be back in like 10 minutes. And then if that happened, why did Chucky even think he had time to attack? But it's like, why is she sneaking into Andy's room? That just seems convenient. You know, it's like, really? Where are you coming from? Did you go on a date? When did you sneak out? Why are you sneaking back in? Is like Andy's room the only one accessible from outside? I don't know. I just thought that was odd. I was like, huh? Wait, what? She's sneaking into his room? Why? Egg salad for lunch. Ugh! I thought the foster parents were nice. I take it back. They're bitches. Don't egg salad. I found it ironic that the t-shirt is reading a book called Pinocchio. And you know what Pinocchio is about, right? Becoming a real boy? Well, that's exactly what Chucky's doing. He wants to be a real boy. He wants to be Andy. So I didn't notice that irony before. Did anybody else catch that? It's ironic. Now, this t-shirt decides to be a bigger bitch and make the audience want her dead because she locks Andy in this room. That's a fire hazard right there. You don't do that. You just don't. But Chucky teaches her a lesson and says, you've been very naughty, Miss Kettlewell. Yes, she has, because she's locking little 8-year-old boys in classrooms. What a bitch. Just that face he makes when he's walking towards her. One of the creepiest shots of Chucky and one of the most angriest looks until part 3 when he's looking at that computer screen at the beginning. And then we get Andy. He goes to the basement, like I said earlier, to confront Chucky. Bigger balls than me when I was 8, but then Phil goes downstairs, and then we get probably the most famous line in this movie. A lot of people on Killer Flicks, they were like, hey, how's it hanging, Phil is my favorite line. That's what they all said. Not my favorite. Theirs. I'm not sure how Chucky had the strength to hold up Phil. Like, how strong is Chucky? Like, he's holding him up until he, like, lets go, and then he breaks his neck. But whatever, you know, I'm just over-analyzing. But yeah, that's a great iconic line in a great moment. Great, that just the facial expression of Chucky in that moment is awesome.
How's it hanging, Phil?
Now explain this one to me. Kyle puts Chucky in the trash can, finds Tommy buried outside, and then goes back to the trash can. It's a metal trash can, mind you. And Chucky somehow is able to get out of the trash can like 20 feet behind her while she's swinging and put the lid back on and sneak into the house and not make a single sound. Now that's a stretch. Killing Joanne just felt random. It felt like it was just up in the body count, because what did Joanne really do to deserve to die? I feel like maybe he went up there and was like, hey, take me to Andy's right now. And she was like, oh my gosh, freaking out because, what the fuck? This doll's alive? And he was like, fuck it, and he just slit her throat or something. I would love to see like a deleted scene of how that went down and how the hell like that knitting ball went down the stairs. How much carnage was going on up there before Kyle got up there, because it seemed like a lot of shit happened very quick. Another one of my favorite scenes in this movie is the banter between Kyle and Chucky while they're driving. Just him constantly, like, he's in such a hurry. He's like, fucking floor it, man! And then she, like, sends him flying out the window, which is bullshit. Like, this is like a fucking, like, 5-pound doll at best. And he's flying through the windshield like he's a bowling ball. Get the fuck out of here. That can't happen. It's just not. Try it, alright? Put a stuffed animal or something in your car seat, slam your brakes, and see if it happens. It's not. It's just not gonna happen. But it's hilarious. And then he says, you goddamn women drivers. I used to think he said limit, because she was like driving the speed limit because she didn't want to get pulled over. So it made sense to me, but I think he says women. It makes sense too. Now, I do find it kind of convenient that a news van is just driving around Chicago with the hatch completely open, just newspapers everywhere. The wind could send that shit flying out. So whoever's driving this news van, that guy from Commando, he needs to get fired immediately, because you shouldn't be doing that. Alright, what are you thinking? Seriously. Oh my gosh, never mind. Okay, favorite shot of this movie? Chucky flipping off Kyle, because it comes back karma later when Kyle flips him off as he's about to get destroyed by that machine. But Chucky flipping off Kyle, hilarious. So many great moments in this movie. There's just so much to choose from. And yeah, and then they conveniently stop at the toy factory. Like, Kyle's chasing down this news van, pulls it over, and where do they pull over? At the toy factory. How convenient. And then she, like, Indiana Jones rolls underneath before, like, the door closes, like one of those cliche movie moments where, like, the door's closing and they gotta, like, run quicker and, like, slide underneath. I like that Chucky is actually able to fully do his chant. This is the first, well, it was the only time. This is the first time he does that, besides, initially putting himself in the doll in the beginning of the first one. But whatever. This is the first time he actually says the chant on somebody else that isn't a doll. Let me clarify. But it doesn't work. It's too late, and he gets pissed off. This is rage mode right here. Chucky rage mode activated. And so now Chucky has blood in all his limbs when he rips his hand off, and he says probably my favorite line, I'm gonna get you fuckers! Love that line. It makes me laugh. But he has blood now in all his limbs. So in the first one, he just had blood in his heart. So that's like, he wasn't fully human yet. And we never really got to find out if it was too late, because he never finished his chant on Andy. But now he has, and it's too late. So now it makes sense that all his limbs have blood in them. Now, I wasn't able to do like a timestamp or like figure out like how long was he in the doll this time versus the first one. Was it longer? I don't know. Like the first one, what was it, like 2 or 3 days? And this one's probably like the same time almost. But yeah, it makes sense now that all his limbs have blood, because it's too late. He is now human. And yeah. One thing I want to point out is that this Chucky, his head's a lot bigger. Like in the first one, his head's consistent. And in this one, when he changes from like plastic doll look to like Chucky look, his head's way bigger. I love when he makes the knife hands, kind of like an Ash thing from Evil Dead, and he says, I hate kids. So do I, Chucky. We got something in common. The eye gouge kill. Why there's only one person working the skeleton shift? Like, really? There's one person on the skeleton crew at this gigantic fucking factory? Makes no sense. Really? One person to fix all this shit? Really? Makes no sense. There would be a few people there at least. It's like, are they cutting down on their budget? They can't afford it? Is that place about to shut down? It seems like it if they're only having one fucking person there. So yeah, I thought that was ridiculous. But great kill, best kill in this movie. Probably one of the best kills in the whole franchise. The eye gouge with the fucking eyeballs go in his eyes. It would have made more sense if they like did another 2 towards his dick, because that's like the length of a doll. So if his body just would have like kept going and it stopped, and then like 2 more balls on his balls. That would have made more sense and it would have been hilarious, but maybe too much, so they took it out. This is me overanalyzing once again, but Chucky somehow is able to string up that guy, and why? Like, he's doing like Michael Myers and Voorhees shit now, where he's like stringing up bodies. And did he do this before he lost his legs or after? Either way, it's ridiculous. But yeah, he just like, the body comes swinging in. It's like, Chucky did that? How? There's no fucking way. And this machine makes no sense. At this factory, they got like all this shit to like staple in hair and staple tags and put clothes on. All this shit for these dolls. But there's like a reverse button conveniently there so we can like put Chucky back up in it, I guess. I don't know. It's dumb. But you got like all these arms. Why are they putting in the arms in like multiple different spots? Wouldn't they be programmed to kind of like go in a certain way and one way only? Like Chucky comes out with like 10, 14 different arms and legs all over the place and like melted wax everywhere. Where did that melted wax come from? It's just stupid. And the fact that it was like so easy for Andy to like open up that wax valve and like all that wax comes out. It's like, that's a hazard right there. Like OSHA, Ohio safety, yeah. OSHA wouldn't approve of that. No. But this is Chicago, so I'm not sure what their safety organization is. Like Scream says, they always come back for one last scare. Chucky comes back for multiple scares in this one, but he comes back up with all this wax over him. How he's not dead yet, I don't know. But he's got like an eye missing now for some reason. But looking at Andy, his pathetic attempt to save Kyle, it's funny. He's like barely tugging at her jacket, like, I'll save you, No, you're not helping. And then we get like that Jaws. It's almost like a Jaws reference, It's kind of like that one-liner you say before you kill the main villain. Like, smile, you son of a bitch. Kyle puts the hose in his mouth and is like, eat this, you son of a bitch. And then he just doesn't spit it out. So was it stuck in there? Like, she just puts this hose in between his lips and he just lets his head get filled with air until it explodes. And it's like, why didn't you just spit it out, buddy? Jeez, it makes no sense. But yeah, then his head explodes and we get lots of chunks everywhere. Lots of chunks on Kyle and Andy too. It's very explosive and awesome. And just like this whole movie's awesome. And then they walk outside and they're like, where are we going? And they're like, Andy's like, where are we going? And Kyle's like, I have no idea. And I wish we would have known what exactly happened after that in the third one. The third one does not address it, unfortunately. So who knows what happened in between the second and third one. But then we get the iconic score that starts playing, and it's an awesome score. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. Alright, Chucky one-liners. There's a lot. And after I go through all of this, I will say my favorite one-liner. And this one had a kill count of 7. So that's like 3 more than the first one. I think the first one had like 4 kills. And my favorite one-liner from that one was, fuck you, in the elevator. Those 2 old people. Ugly doll. Fuck you. Alright, we got a lot of one-liners in this one. We got, bang, you're dead. Park this piece of shit. Eat dirt, Tommy. That's 3. You've been very naughty, Miss Kettlewell. Did you miss me, Andy? I sure missed you. Shut up and drive before I kick your fucking teeth in. You goddamn women drivers. How's it hanging, Phil? Say your prayers, Andy. Close your eyes, count to 7. Blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna get you fuckers, and I hate kids. My favorite one is I'm gonna get you fuckers. Then park this piece of shit, and you goddamn women drivers, and kick your fuck. I could make I'm probably gonna make a top 10 like one-liners, and there's a lot more to come in part 3 and 4. So yeah, I look forward to counting all these one-liners. But that is 12 one-liners. There's at least a dozen one-liners in this movie. So yeah, another reason why it's awesome. So final thoughts. This movie is fucking fantastic. If you haven't seen it, you must see it, because this is a horror sequel that just is what a horror sequel should be. Extra carnage, extra screen time for the main villain, great characters, likable characters, smart decisions. So when it comes to Child's Play 2, this movie is a horror sequel masterpiece. Mr. Hadawolf with best kill is going to go to the mechanic at the toy factory, who gets his eyeballs gouged. And the Mr. Twig Award for lamest kill is going to go to Joanne. I didn't feel like she deserved to die, and she dies off camera. What the hell happened? What did he do? Tie her up and then slit her throat? Or slit her throat and then tie her up? I have no idea. And those are my thoughts on Child's Play 2. Have you seen this awesome movie? Let me know what you thought about in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Hit this like button to support this video. Check out my horror movies playlist. Follow me on social media if you would like. And you can become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds to see more. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.